folks, and welcome to my channel. So today we have another gameplay video with Flagburg on the right hand side, and on the left hand side we have a Seraph snow deck. So with that out of the way, both the opponents are quickly shuffling their decks, and then after that we'll be going straight into the gameplay. So both the Flagburg and the Seraph player are just quickly doing their mulligans, and we should be starting shortly. So the Seraph player rolls a 10, I do believe, and the Flagburg rolls a 5. So the Seraph snow player will be starting us off. So they discard a card for the right line, then they search for the prison with the grade 1 right line skill. Then play the order, rest the Vanguard to soul charge free, and then they pass it over to the Flagburg player. Now it does seem here that the Flagburg player could possibly be running the Aurora ride line. Yep, so the Aurora player does generate pen token, swings to the Vanguard, the Seraph player does take it, and we pass it over to the Seraph player. The Seraph player discards a card for the right line, and the grade 2 will force the opponent to put a card from the hand into the prison. So they put one card into the prison, then they swing with their Vanguard for 10. The Flagburg player does take it, the Seraph player does reveal the critical, so it puts the Flagburg player straight onto damage. So the Flagburg player rides into the grade 2, then they swing with their Vanguard to the Seraph player's Vanguard. The Seraph player goes for 1 to pass. The Flagburg player does find a draw trigger, which means it does hit through. Now we pass it back over to the Seraph player. Discard a card for the right line to ride into Seraph. And then they call a Macarite, prisoning the top card of the opponent's deck. They do prison a crit trigger. They go for a cuff spring to make the opponent prison a card from their hand, and then the player does draw a card. So they now have 3 cards in the prison for Seraph to get its full skill off. So first of all, swing for 10 to the Vanguard. The Flagburg player does guard it. They then swing with their Vanguard, which has triple drive. The Flagburg player does take it. They reveal a crit. They reveal a heal as well. So all the powers are going to the Macarite. And then the third check is a Glimmer. So the Flagburg player does take 2 damage. They do find 2 defensives though. So the Flagburg player is on 30 and the Macarite is on 35. So a 10k shield will be enough to guard. We pass it over to the Flagburg player. So they discard a card for the ride line to ride into the Flagburg. Use a skill of the grade 2 by revealing a Flagburg to call the grade 2 from the soul. And the Flagburg player does Soul Blast 1 to call out a grade 2 from the prison. They call a prize trident, I do believe, behind the grade 2, and then they commence battle. They swing with the Vanguard for 15, I do believe. Oh, sorry, it might have been 10, but it does not hit. So they swing with the Rearguard on the other side. They use the grade 2 to stand itself, and then the grade 2 stands itself as well. So they've gotten to 2 attacks so far. They go for their 3rd attack to the Vanguard. Seraph player guards it, then swing for the 4th attack. And since when Flagburg attacks, it'll be the 5th attack, it will gain all its effects. So the Flagburg player does retire 1, gets to draw 1, and then it has a guard district where you have the guard with 3 cards at once or more. The Seraph player does take it, and the Flagburg player does reveal a critical trigger. And then the prize running goes into the soul, unless a counter charge, since they did reach 5 attacks this turn. So the Seraph player rides into Pure Light, uses the skill of Pure Light. So they have to prison 2 cards from the soul, 2 cards from field, and 2 cards from hand. Now I do believe there's currently 6 cards in the prison, so the front row gets plus 15k. They call a Gleamer, so the Gleamer will search for a copy of itself. So they put the Gleamer in the same column as the Gleamer. They then call a deck up, I can't remember its name, to prison a card on the opponent's field into the prison, and because they have more than 3 cards in the prison, they get to draw a card. They then call a Cuff Spring to prison another card from the Flagburg's hand. So now the Seraph player has 8 cards in the prison. So the front row gets plus 20k. So they swing with the Cuff Spring. I believe it is at 30k. The Flagburg player does take it. They don't reveal any damage trigger. They swing with their Vanguard. The Flagburg player goes for a 2 to pass. The Seraph player does reveal a crit. They give all of it to the Vanguard, and it does whiff. Oh, sorry, they might give the crit power to the Gleamer, sorry. So they swing with a Gleamer, which is swinging for a very big amount, and the Flagburg player guards with the Overtrigger. It is now the Flagburg's player turn. They do Persona Ride. The counterblast 1 for the prison skill to call 2 cards from the prison. The counterblast again to call 2 more cards from the prison. So they swing with their Regard to their Vanguard, which does swing for 20, so it's the Persona Ride. The Seraph player intercepts and guards, so it guards the attack. They then swing with their other Regard. This is now the second attack. The Seraph player does take it, reveals no defensive. Sorry, I do believe they swing with the Regards instead, sorry. They didn't pay the cost for both grade 2s to save themselves. So one uses Assault Blast, everyone uses a Counter Blast, so they will again achieve 5 attacks this turn, which means that Flagbird's skill will be completely active. Do believe this column will be either 28 or 33. The Seraph player is deciding whether to take this attack or not. Seraph player does guard with the Overtrigger, then swing with their other Regard. The Seraph player does guard that attack as well. Then they swing with their Vanguard. They'll draw 1, retire 2 Regards, and all have the guard restrict. The opponent does take it, and the Flagburg player reveals 2 blanks, and the Seraph player reveals a Pure Light for the defensive. So we now move over back to the Seraph player. So they call a Shovel Stud. Use its skill to prison one of the Regards. They choose one of the front row grade 2 Regards. They do then draw a card since they have more than 3 cards in the prison. They call a Gleamer, which again will allow it to search for itself, which they do still have another copy of itself in the deck. The core of the glamour behind the shovel stud. So they do swing with their Vanguard. The Flagburg player does guard that attack. The Seraph player does find a heal, a grade 2. They give the power of the heal to the shovel stud, and they also reveal a critical trigger. And they give all the effects of the critical trigger to their gleamer. Sorry, I do believe here they give the crit to the shovel stud, but they do give the gleamer the power. So they swing with the gleamer. The Flagburg player does guard it, and then they swing with the shovel stud boosted by the glimmer, which I do believe has a critical trigger. And the Flagburg player does guard that attack as well. So we now pass it back over to the Flagburg player, and they do Persona Ride. They call an inlet pulse. So they swing the inlet pulse first. I believe at this stage the Seraph player is gathering numbers just to get an idea of how big everything is going to be this turn. So the Seraph player does guard that attack. The inlet pulse to Soul Blast and stand itself, because it does have a Flagburg Vanguard. The other regard that he swung with for Soul Blast does stand itself as well. They swing again, so this is now the third attack. So the Seraph player does guard that reguard attack, I do believe here. Yes, it does guard that reguard. Then they swing with the inlet pulse. This will now be the fourth attack. They guard it, and now the Flagburg, the Seraph player cannot guard, since it requires 3 cards to guard, and the Flagburg player does reveal a critical trigger. And the Seraph player reveals a draw and a pure light, which means that the Flagburg player wins the first game. So we will be going into the second game very shortly. Righty, so they're getting ready now for the second game, and I do believe since the Seraph player did lose, they will be going first again. So the Seraph player puts 5 cards back, and the Flagburg player puts back 4. So the Seraph player again does start us off. The Scotty card for the right line to ride into the grade 1. The grade 1 does search for the prison. It does unfortunately seem like that the Seraph player has the prison in their hand. So they do play the order, they rest the Vanguard, and soul charge 3. Unlucky for the Seraph player, they have lost a crit and draw already from the game. So the Flagburg player rides into the grade 1, they swing with their Vanguard, and the Seraph player does take it. The Flagburg player reveals nothing, and the Seraph player takes 1 damage. The Seraph player discards a card for the grade 2 and makes the Flagburg player imprison the card from their hand. So they call a turquoise, I do believe it is. So what turquoise does is when a card is placed from the prison, as long as the turquoise is in the front row, the cards called out lose 5k power. So they take the turquoise, and then the Vanguard swings at the opponent's Vanguard, but the Flagburg player does reveal an over-trigger defensive. So the Flagburg player is swinging at the turquoise. They do let it die. It does reveal a crit, but because it is at the turquoise, the Seraph player does not take any damage. I believe the Seraph player is deciding what card to discard from their hand for the right line to ride into Seraph Snow. So they discard a perfect guard to ride into Seraph Snow. They call a cuff spring, they call 2 cuff springs, so they make the opponent imprison 2 cards from their hand and draw 2 cards. Since the Seraph player now has 3 cards in their prison, the Seraph Snow will gain 10k and also triple drive. So they swing with the Vanguard, and the Flagburg player goes 1 to pass, sorry. So they reveal a critical trigger, they reveal another critical trigger, they give all the effects to the Vanguard. Sorry, they give the crit to the Vanguard and power to the cost spring, sorry. So the Flagburg player does take 3 damage, which puts them now on 4, with no defensive triggers. They do swing with the cuss spring regard, they take that one, and then they do swing with the other cuss spring. The Flagburg player does guard that one. So now I pass over to the Flagburg player. So discard a card from the ride line to ride into the Flagburg. The grade 2 does call itself out, for sure, by revealing the Flagburg. And then they call the Inlet Pulse, with 2 prized tridents as well. So they swing to the Vanguard with the Inlet Pulse, which will be the first attack. The Seraph player does take it, and they do reveal a heal trigger. The Inlet Pulse does stand itself because they have a Flagburg Vanguard, and they swing to their Vanguard, which does... Sorry, they swing with the grade 2 instead, sorry. The grade 2 does not hit. Then swing with the Inlet Pulse, and the grade 2 does stand itself for a counter blast. So this is now their 3rd attack. Then they will swing with their grade 2 to the cuss spring. This will now be the 4th attack. And then when the Flagburg does attack, since it has achieved 5 attacks this turn, it will have all its skills active. Seraph player does guard the grade 2, so the Flag player does draw a card, retires the Gleamers, and when the opponent guards, they have to guard with 3 cards or more at once. The opponent takes it, the Flagburg does reveal a heal trigger, they give it to the Vanguard, and they reveal another heal trigger, and they give the power to their Vanguard. Seraph player does take 1 point of damage. They reveal a draw trigger, they draw a card, then we pass it back over to the Seraph Snow player. It's quickly doing some end of battle effects, so the Tridents go into the soul. They don't counter charge since he healed off his counter blast, and he does draw a card from the Inlet Pulse. It doesn't seem like the Seraph Snow player has the Pure Light this time round. They call a Shovel Stud and they prison the grade 2 next to the Flagburg, and then draw 1 since there are 3 cards in the prison, and that draw he does get is a pure light. They do call a draw trigger behind the cuff spring. They then cannot pass for Seraph Snow to retire their plant token. Then swing with the cuff spring. The opponent, another Flagburg player does take it, they reveal nothing. Then swing with Seraph Snow, which has all its skills active. The Flagburg player guards with 2 hill triggers, which makes it 2 to pass. The Seraph Snow reveals nothing. Then they do swing with the cuff spring and the opponent does take it. We now pass it back over to the Flagburg player. They Persona Ride. They call a grade 1 token generator. They then counterblast 2 to call out 2 cards from their prison. They do Soul Blast 1 to call out the prize Trident behind the grade 1 token generator behind the Vanguard. So swing the grade 2 first for 20 because they did Persona Ride. Seraph player takes that attack and they again do reveal a defensive. You then swing with the grade 1 to stand the grade 2 for a counterblast. So you intercept with the cuff spring to guard the grade 1's attack. You then swing with the grade 2 at the cuff spring, and the Flagburg player has only would have done only 4 attacks this turn, so they only get the draw 1 and the retire skill off this turn. So they activate the Flagburg, so draw 1, retire the 2 rearguards, and the Seraph player is able to guard normally against this attack. The Seraph player does perfect guard that attack. The Flagburg player doesn't really crit in the grade 1, but it does not break through. We then pass it over to the Seraph player, who rides into Pure Light. So they will be able to prison 6 this turn, sorry, no, they can prison 5, As they retire both both the tokens, they'll take 2 cards from the soul, and they will take 2 cards from the Flagburg player's hand. So currently I do believe there's only 5, but the Macarite will make 6, so the front row will get plus 15k. Then Cooler Gleamer, but there unfortunately is no other copy in the deck. They swing with the Vanguard for 28, so it's at 43, so with the 2 critical triggers, so it is a 2 to pass. The Seraph player reveals nothing from the triple drive. They next swing with their Macarite for 30k. The Flagburg player does guard it with a critical trigger and an intercept from the grade 2, and then the Gleamer will swing for 23. And the Flagburg player takes the damage, which means that the Seraph player does win the second game. I do believe it's now the 3rd game, but because time will be getting called soon, it might come down to whoever takes the most damage. Since the Flagburg player lost, they do get to go first. Righty, so instead the Seraph player is going first, so they discard a card for the right line for the grade 1, and the grade 1 does search for the prison. Then the prison does soul charge free, and one of the cards from the soul charge free is an overtrigger. The Flagburg player does discard a card for the right line and swings with their Vanguard to the Seraph player's Vanguard. Seraph player does guard it, it is a 1 to pass. The zero level draw trigger, so the attack should have gone, no sorry, it would not have gone through. It would have been 28 to a 13, so it would have been 23 at most. The Seraph player makes the Vanguard player prison a card from their hand, then use a cuff spring to prison another card from their hand. Then they call it grade 2. So they go into rust to try and push the Vanguard player at high damage because they can, so that they can win, as they're currently, as the Seraph player is currently on turn 2, so they have to make this turn count. So they swing with the grade 2, the Flagburg player does guard it, then swing with their Vanguard to the Vanguard. It's a 15k, so the heal, and it will not pass since the OB trigger has already been seen. Then they swing with the cuff spring, and the Flagburg player does guard it. It is now turn 3. If the Flagburg player does not deal a damage to the Seraph player, it will be a draw. Flagburg player to swing with the Vanguard for 15. They perfect guard it, which means it does not pass, and because of that it is now a draw. So that is the end of the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please do leave a like down below, and while you're down there, why not subscribe and hit that notification button so when I upload another video you will be notified. A-Dog's out. See ya.